Hello, and welcome to Archvelder's Hacks with Archvelder and his amazing hacks. The Hunter has, for most of Warcraft's history, been one of the primary classes for the use of exploits, due mainly to the number of interesting abilities they are given and the dynamic nature of the class. In this video I will show you how to perform several game-breaking exploits, the full potential of which has yet to be discovered. There are some really exciting possibilities here. For those of you who want to pursue this, I'd recommend bookmarking this video because there is a lot of detail and you won't be able to take it all in at one viewing. You'll need to refer to it multiple times. One thing I will not be doing in this guide is discussing terrain exploits in PvP. This is mainly because I've already covered pretty much every terrain exploit you can use with a hunter in my WoW PvP exploits video from January 2016. Those exploits work to this day, though the removal of disengage means that they require slightly more accuracy to pull off. The first exploit here allows Beastmasters to increase their damage from Cobra shot by up to 80% or even more. It's truly game-breaking. It comes from an amazing discovery by No Truth in the comments section of this channel. And he discovered that the stacks of blocks, a novelty item you can get from the Shadow Pan in Pandaria, allow a Beastmaster to benefit from the talent Way of the Cobra. This talent increases the damage from each Cobra shot by 8% for each beast you have out. And in this case it was counting the stacks as beasts. Naturally it seemed to me that the game was treating inanimate objects as beasts for the purposes of this talent, and indeed if you look on Wellhead you'll see the stacks are actually referred to as beasts by the game code itself. Having learned this, it seemed to me likely that other objects can benefit from the damage bonus. What I'm showing you now is how to test any item to see if it affects the damage bonus from Way of the Cobra. Establish a baseline for Cobra shot, dismiss your bets and remove all buffs. In this case I'm doing N damage and I'm critting for N times 2 damage. To see if an item benefits from the Cobra shot bonus, use it and then see if there is any change in the amount of damage. So it will be more than N damage or N times 2 damage if you crit. It is a good idea when testing not to look at tooltips which are often inaccurate. Look at the damage numbers above the target itself or your combat logs. And these are the items I've discovered worked. We've got Shishen Spittoon here and the Golden Banana. Those are both Pandaria items that you can get from various elite mobs. There's Tonga's Totem, that's a quest item from a low-level quest in the Barrens. Crater Kidnapped Puppies, that's from Kunlai Summit from a mob called Borgin Darkfist. You've got Hunter's Call, that's from the Hunter's Lodge here on the Broken Isles. And that's a toy, you can purchase that here. You've got Saber Stalker's Battle Standard and Hand of the Prophet Battle Standard. Basically these battle standards all seem to be treated as beasts. We've got Jim Warmkeg's Brew, that's from the Dread Wastes in Pandaria. Totem of Harmony, that's a toy from a quest also in Camouflage Summit. And you've got the Darkmoon Seesaw, and that can be purchased for a number of Darkmoon tickets, I think 50 tickets. I'm going to link to all these items below with their links to Wellhead so you can check each out individually. I'm not going to show you how to obtain all of them on a case-by-case basis because it would literally take like an hour for me to get through it. I may do something specific on these items more generally in the future, you know, interesting exploit items that can be obtained in WoW, something like that. Now the 8% damage bonus you get from each item is additive. So if you have one item, your Cobra shot receives an 8% damage bonus. If you have two items, you receive a 16% damage bonus. If you have three items, 24%, and so on and so on. And the only real limit is how many items you can actually get out at one time when you're using Cobra shots. Obviously it varies greatly what the duration of each item is. and how practical it is. Some of them have cast time, some of them can be produced instantly. But you'd also want to use some kind of macro, because you're going to have to call a large number of them out in a faster time as possible, particularly in PvP. The new Survival Hunter ability, Harpoon, has some interesting properties which I'm going to illustrate here in Throne of Tides. If you clear the instance at the end and clear the trash so you can engage Ozumat with a buff not too long gives you here, and then use Harpoon, something pretty amazing happens. And you can see you've got right outside the instance. This ability has a lot of possibilities for exploration and accessing forbidden areas. In Legion, hunters have had their abilities reworked, ironically probably to prevent the use of exploits, but this has actually created new opportunities for those of us on the dark side. Hunters now have several abilities which can bypass physical barriers, and this can be useful in a variety of ways, and I'll show you one of the most powerful here in Utgard Keep. We enter the instance and clear the room of trash, and you can see there is a portcullis with the end boss of the instance, King Ymiron, behind it, and what we're going to do is go around the corner and use our explosive shot ability through the wall immediately behind him. The timing is a little tricky because you have to activate the explosive shot remotely, but I managed to do it first time here. And as you can see, the shot has gone straight through the wall and killed the boss, clearing the instance in seconds. If you want to do this in Wrath of the Lich King time walking when it comes around, bear in mind you won't be able to one-shot the boss, but you will be able to aggro him and he will then run through the portcullis and engage your dungeon group, so you may want to warn them. Now this technique can be used in theoretically almost any dungeon to aggro bosses or trash through walls, and has incredible gold farming potential. The following exploit I'm going to show you is a very powerful exploit for marksmanship hunters that somehow survived through an entire expansion, and this involves getting your pet to attack while remaining camouflage. To do this, send your pet into battle and make sure that your pet dies. And then get out of combat using feign death. Then go into camouflage and revive pet. And you will remain in stealth, but your pet will be able to attack. And this is a very powerful strategy in PvP when you are outnumbered. It is excellent asymmetric warfare. And you can do it repeatedly, as I'm showing here. Now, the most obvious application of this exploit is to prevent the flag from being capped in PvP, since you can defend and prevent capping by almost any number of players. Here in Temple of Kotumogu, you can see another application. I'm in camouflage and I've revived my pet. Now, if I was to attack the orb holders here, I get DPS down pretty much instantaneously. So by sending my pet into battle, I achieve a number of things. Firstly, I put pressure on the orb holders by doing a limited amount of DPS, but also it works very well as a distraction. The orb holders obviously very reluctant to target a pet when there are players who can do much more DPS around. But they can't really completely ignore the pet either, and they can't really waste CC on it also. Now this is an exploit that's actually worked since Warlords of Draenor, and you can tell because I'm in Tanaan Jungle. And what you do is you find some of the fell slime that permeates town and jungle. You want to send your pet into the slime. Now the fell sludge debuff effect will still be ticking on your pet when you recall it. And for every tick of the debuff, the pet will gain 5% damage, up to 45%. And pets with the cornered ability will also gain a 20% damage bonus as their health goes down. On the 10th tick, the pet will actually die, so you'll need to use a pet with Heart of the Phoenix for an instant pet res. Now this is a very powerful technique for increasing burst damage in arena, but can also be a significant DPS increase in PvE.
Before time runs out.
I'm just going to show you the debuff in action in the Proving Grounds, so you can see how the debuff survives zoning into an instance.
It cannot harm you.
The following technique can actually be used by all classes, but the Hunter benefits more from its usage than most. This is a highly effective leveling and gold farming technique. If you enter the Proving Grounds, which can be accessed via a class trainer, then use Teleport out of dungeon, you'll find that you can re-enter the Proving Grounds at any point. You can use this to constantly reset your major cooldowns when out in the world. For example, say I attack these mobs and use Bloodlust with my Core Hound. Having killed them, I then port to the Proving Grounds. Then going to start the countdown, and this in itself will reset my health to 100% and also give me access to some free health stones. But the best thing is that the Bloodlust cooldown is reset, and obviously this allows you to attack any amount of mobs or elite mobs without too much difficulty. The following exploit will allow the Hunter to detect characters in stealth if there is a lootable item in the area. Exploits that take players out of stealth are difficult to test and very difficult to show because in, say, PvP it is basically impossible to work out what took a rogue or a feral druid out of stealth, but I found a way to do it. If you come to Hellfire Citadel here in Outland and go up these stairs, you'll find some mobs in stealth. Now you're going to be able to see them because a max level character can see low level stealth NPCs, but you can also see from the transparent outline effect that they are meant to be in stealth. Now we're going to kill one of these mobs and we're going to loot it using the fetch ability. You'll need Glyph of Fetch for this exploit. And when we loot the mob, you'll see that the neighbouring stealthed NPC is brought out of stealth. And this works with both players and NPCs that are in stealth. You can purchase the Glyph of Fetch from the Hunter's Lodge. This play is a neat little trick to exploit spec switching. If you go into survival spec and use the talent Cobra, which is generally considered to be the best TPS choice in its tier, and then switch specs, the Cobra will persist, allowing you to increase your DPS. This requires a special situation where you can switch specs immediately before entering combat, such as arena battlegrounds, such as Strand of the Ancients or Silver Shard Mines, where you can engage the enemy instantly, or PvE where someone has used the Codex of the Tranquil Mind. This exploit concerns the Honor talent Stampede. Like Explosive Shot, this ability goes through physical barriers. It has a much shorter potential range than Explosive Shot, but it does significantly more damage and lasts much longer. As you can see, when I use the ability here, it goes straight through the wall of this building and damages the target dummies on the other side. Now this has some uses in PvP, as players rarely expect to be attacked through a solid object, and I'm going to show you an example of this here in Alterac Valley, in the wall behind the Horde boss Captain Galvanar, as most of the Alliance team attacks. So there's the hacks. I'm shortly going to come out with some very strong new plays, and you are really going to kick yourself if you miss them. So why not subscribe now and avoid missing out. Thank you for watching. This has been Archfelder.